Hello, everyone. Pat Down MMA back with another DWCS breakdown. Episode 24 of my breakdown is going to be getting into the Week 9 lightweight fight between Kody Steele and Chasen Blair. A fight that came in very, very short notice that quickly turned into one of my favorite matchups of the season, honestly. I love this stylistic pairing of fighters, and I can't wait to see how it ends up playing out. We're going to be getting into Kody Steele first. So Steele is from Texas. He stands at 5'9" with a 6-0 record. He has four finishes with three knockout wins and one submission, but with one submission, he is a world-class grappler. It's pretty funny because his background is jiu-jitsu grappling, and he's grappled against some of the best guys in the world and former UFC fighters, current UFC fighters as well. And he also spends a lot of time training out in Syndicate MMA in Las Vegas. So Steele has a ridiculous pace and pressure that he just loves to put on opponents. He's always in your face, and he's just so annoying. He has some amazing combinations and he just overwhelms with them and eventually finds the sweet spot that will either rock his opponent and let him tee off or just put his opponent out. He has some very sneaky rear kicks as well, but his massive overhand right is what really puts like fear and damage onto people. He has some very sharp elbows as well. Throws them in combination almost. He'll throw his elbows in multiple strikes, and it's very, very nice to see him use his elbows so effectively. I think he uses his elbows better than most guys do. Steele also doesn't throw to the body that much, but when he does, he rips some mean body hooks that can really wear on an opponent just by landing in the right spot. Steele has some really good head movement and counters as well. He's good at evading strikes and then finding his own success offensively off the defensive head movement. And he has some really good control in the clinch. His clinch knees are basically a fight ending strike. I mean, he's ended fights with his knees before, and they are dangerous, dangerous knees. But Steele definitely doesn't have the best setups for his striking. He is a bit clunky and sloppy on the feet sometimes, and he just has some bad striking defense. He gets hit a lot in the pocket. He comes in a bit reckless too and just kind of overswings sometimes, and he ducks heavy to his left side where he has been timed and kicked and hit pretty hard before because they've timed his duck down to the left side. And with Steele, it just feels like he should honestly find finishes easier than he does. He feels like some of his finishes are really drawn out, and some of the fights that he has won by decision should have been finish wins. It just feels like the finishes don't come as fluently to him as they should. Getting into Steele's ground game, though, I mean, he obviously has incredible takedowns and grappling. He just understands grappling so well. He's so calm. He's just so annoying and mauling on top. He's great ground and pound, just kind of keeps it on you, and just incredible scrambles and transitions. Does so much creative stuff in there that you really don't see normally from regular fighters, I guess you could say. Steele's also, of course, have slippery submissions off of his back and some good submission defense himself, but he actually does leave his neck open on takedown attempts, funny enough. So that is something that he has had trouble with before. He's getting caught in guillotines as he shoots, and he doesn't have the best takedown defense himself. He'll accept bottom position, but there's times where he's not even trying to accept it and he's still getting taken down. And he can be controlled by better wrestlers. In his Sam Kilmer fight, he was controlled by Kilmer, who wasn't as good of a wrestler as Blair is and was able to find success controlling Steele on the ground. Steele is a great finisher later into fights. He really can keep his cardio going and get that pressure on his opponent later into fights. They eventually will break, and he can find finishes very easily there. The thing that's a little bit of a red flag for me with Steele is he has fought between 155 and 170 throughout his career. He hasn't commonly fought at lightweight, and this will be his second cut to lightweight in 4 weeks. So that does worry me a bit in terms of his cardio and his pressure and pace that he usually puts on opponents. Will he be able to still do that after having a second big weight cut in just 4 weeks? Now moving on to North Carolina's Chasen Blair. Blair's 5'10" with his 6-2 record. I feel he should be 7-1, but he's finished all six of his wins. He is a former D1 wrestler and has spent a lot of time at welterweight himself. Only has two fights at 155 pounds. This fight is very, very short notice for Blair. So as Steele was supposed to be on the Contender Series a couple weeks ago and had an opponent pull out on fight night, Blair came out of nowhere. He only fought 2.5 weeks ago and had a big first round finish in the main event of Cage Warriors, and now is coming over and going to be fighting for his opportunity in the UFC just literally 20 days later, which is just crazy to think about. Blair can fight in both stances comfortably and has some incredible footwork and very sharp hands. I love Blair's striking. He has some great power in both of his hands and really has just not afraid to let his hands go. He always lets his hands go. He has some incredible combinations. He throws them quick with lots of power, and he has an incredible counter right hook. He just kind of like steps back and waits for his opponent to get into range and then just pops them with that right hook. And I really do love what Blair has been able to do with his striking, with his wrestling background. He also has some really good body kicks and just finds finishes with his striking so easily and so well. It's kind of the opposite of Steele, where Steele almost has trouble finding finishes, in my opinion, where Blair finds them so easily. Blair also does get a bit too comfortable brawling, and he will be engaged in, some scary brawls at times, overthrows into punches. Doesn't have the best reactions when he does get hit in those situations. Blair just doesn't have the greatest striking defense in general, though. He just can struggle at range with more technical strikers that can try and pick him apart. And there are times he has shot from the stands and just really went for a takedown from far away. Very, very telegraphed takedowns sometimes. But when he isn't doing that, Blair really does have some incredible takedowns with incredible timing. He's just so strong and athletic and so used to wrestling that usually finds success getting guys to the ground. And he has some incredible top control with some really smart and clean transitions. He has relentless ground and pound and just generates so much power from certain positions with his ground and pound, and just has a very good submission game. Great BJJ, super slick, has chokes, arm bars, all of it. He's very good. He's very well versed on the ground. There are times though that Blair has made mistakes in scrambles and given up positions he shouldn't, and he has also gotten his legs caught before. He fought now new UFC fighter Ahmad Hassanzada in Cage Warriors, and he did lose because he gave up his leg when they were in a scramble and he got caught in a knee bar and had to tap. And Blair definitely doesn't have the best gas tank. He definitely slows down as the fight goes and is susceptible to kind of being beat up in round three just because he exerts all of his energy going for the finish in those first two rounds. And if he doesn't get it, it could get a little bit troublesome. I will say though, for Blair, despite having a 6-2 record compared to Steele's 6-0 record, his level of competition and growth shows more than Steele. He looks like the more complete fighter when you watch them fight, and I'm interested to see on how it will look when they actually match up against each other. For my prediction for this fight, this is honestly one of my tougher picks on the season in general because I think the odds are a bit off for this fight. I think it does factor in Blair's short notice a bit, which does make me lean Kody Steele, but Blair, like I said, seems like he's better right now. And it seems like Steele has the higher potential, but that Blair is just really good and he's just more put together, it feels like, and just finds finishes easier. This is a very tough fight to pick. I think on the feet, Blair is going to have more power, but Steele is going to be a little bit more technical and just a little bit more quick with more volume. But for Blair on the ground, I think he's going to be the better wrestler. Steele's BJJ will obviously be better, but Blair has good BJJ in his own right. If he can get Steele down and control him there, it's very possible that he could be up 2-0, and then Steele's going to need a finish in round three. And if Blair can survive, then he wins a decision. I can see both guys getting the decision. I can see both guys getting the submission. I can see both guys getting a knockout in this fight. This fight can end in so many different ways. It's actually pretty interesting. I am gonna lean towards the underdog though, because like I said, I feel like Chasen Blair is just a little bit more put together, and I do think he will win a very close decision. However, I Kody Steele could easily wear on him in that third round. I would probably favor Steele if this wasn't his second weight cut in 4 weeks down to 155. He isn't used to cutting down to 155. And with this being the second time in 4 weeks, I just don't know if his gas tank is going to be the same and if he will be able to put it on Blair the way he needs to later in the fight to find the finish. So give me Chasen Blair by a unanimous decision here. I'm going to say 29-28, maybe even a split decision here. I think this is an amazing fight, and I think it's going to be very close and very fun throughout between two guys who could very well be in the UFC. I want to thank you all for watching episode 24 of my DWCS breakdowns. Please like, comment, and subscribe for more. I have a couple more coming out for this week very shortly, so please stay tuned for those, and I hope you enjoyed. Thank you.